Welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video, and welcome to the Volkswagen ID.4 first. So, in this video, we are going to go on an in-depth driving evaluation of the ID.4. I like to do this for every car I test, where I drive them in 3 environments where I think many people are going to spend time with their cars. The city, so like cruising around my town here in Fort Collins. We go shredded up a canyon road. Even if it's not a performance car, it's important to see the vehicle dynamics. And then lastly, we take it down the highway, test the adaptive cruise, the lane centering, the assist systems, and talk about noise and overall ride quality. So let's get into it with the brand new ID.4 First Edition. So if you've been a viewer of our small YouTube channel for a while, you know I was one of the very lucky few to drive Volkswagen ID.4 months ago when they only had 2 prototypes in the US. And I did a quick driving evaluation around Michigan. We flew over there for that, and you could just tell how happy and giddy I was. I'm gonna try out the brakes. No one's around. Ready? Oh, wow. Amazing braking performance. The grip level on these tires was amazing. Hi, are you doing all right back there?
Yeah.
The camera's probably got pretty shaky there. You see, I love performance cars. I love things that are fast, but I also love cars that are built well for their purpose. And the purpose of ID.4 truly is to electrify the masses. I think this could be, and I think it is, the most important car of the modern era. You'll hear me say that in other videos too. I really think this is a transformative vehicle. Now, before all the Tesla people come in and say, well, what about Model 3? What about Model Y? Blah, blah, blah. The price point, the space, the driving dynamics, the way this car makes you feel, the vibe. They actually used the word vibe in the press release, which I thought was pretty funny, is so far unmatched from Tesla. Basically, this car is the happiest car on sale. It feels so premium, so quality, and then to really top it off, you get an incredible base price of $39,995 plus a $7,500 tax credit, plus a 3 years of free charging at EA. You do have to spend $1,200 on shipping and destination, but what most people are going to do is lease this thing for 3 years for like mid $300 a month, $3,000 down. And how can you top that? That's your cost. You put insurance on this thing for, I don't know, 70 bucks a month, something like that. That's how much it costs to insure my Tesla. And then 3 years of free charging. Basically, for less than $400 a month, less than $450 a month, your driving is fixed. You no longer have to worry about changes in gas prices. This really means a lot to a lot of people, is that just, you know, what you're going to pay for your transportation, no matter how much or how little you drive, your charging is free. And I actually love that Volkswagen's doing that, and I love that the 3 years of free charging at EA. I think it's going to stress the network, push the networks, and it's going to make everything better overall. So let's talk about spec, trim, and all this stuff, and then we're going to take it in the city. Now, I'm going to have a full, super in-depth walkthrough on this car. I already have like a preliminary one up, but I'm going to go in through everything once I've spent a few days with this car. That'll actually go up before this video. This is on the first day that I have with it, mainly because we're in like a snowpocalypse, and we're going to get dumped on with, I don't know, 5 feet of snow. So I want to get the driving in now before the snow starts in 2 or 3 hours. And with that said, it's cold outside, 37 degrees Fahrenheit. ID.4 has standard heated steering wheel and heated seats. It also starts to warm up when you click unlock from the key, which is a really nice feature. And you can even precondition it from the app. The app's really good. I have it on my phone, by the way. Take a look at the walk around for that. Let's go through the stuff that matters here. 82 kilowatt hour battery pack, the large battery for the MEB platform here. 77 kilowatt hours usable. Pretty sizable buffer, and I think that's okay. Again, this is going to be a car for the masses. People aren't going to think about, let me just charge it to 80% every day, even though that's what Volkswagen recommends and what you should do with really any EV. You know, charge it to not full charge every day. But people are going to do it. People are going to run them dead, and you know what? With that much buffer, it's just not going to hurt anything. So that'll be really nice. There's 4 trims and 1 package. So basically, when you order this car, you go on the website, you can say you want the Pro S, the Gradient, or the first edition, which is sold out now, so you're not going to be able to get that. I love how simple and easy it is. I love the base equipment. I would get the Pro S because it gets the glass roof, which I absolutely love, and there is a shade I just slide my finger on this little thing and then the shade closes. Again, I'll show you a lot more of this stuff when we do the walk around. In terms of driving, 201 horsepower, 229 pound-feet of torque. Doesn't sound like much. We'll see if it actually feels okay to drive. All-wheel drive will add 100 horsepower, so it'll be like 300 horsepower. I don't know the torque figures, but that's going to be good. EPA rates this car at 250 miles. I'm going to do some range testing as long as the snow's not bad. If I can't do range testing, my colleague Tom at our other channel, Inside EVs US, range tested the ID.4, and he did 230 miles, something like this, low 200s on the highway at 70 miles per hour constant. And that's seriously impressive. That's more than enough range. My Model 3, by the way, does about 230 miles at 70 miles per hour. So, and that's a performance long range. Notable features before we start to drive, you have a rear motor, rear wheel drive in this one. So especially up the canyons, we're going to see if it's going to be kind of oversteery, kind of fun. There's different drive modes, so we'll talk about that. It's 200 pounds for the rear motor, power electronics, and gearbox, and it fits into a duffel bag. That's impressive. The windings are optimized into a U shape, basically a clamp shape, and this is good for efficiency packaging, so they can stuff more copper in the motor in less space. Battery pack is comprised of 288 pouch cells, 12 modules, and the battery is 1,087 pounds, and it's cooled from a bottom plate only, and heated, of course. The car tries to keep the battery pack at 77 degrees Fahrenheit at all times, and it even said that regardless of modes. So I have this little i3-like shifter here, which is very intuitive, I think, probably because I own an i3. It just makes sense to me. Some people think it rotates the wrong way. Sorry, let me just adjust the steering wheel. I disagree. I think it rotates the correct way. Backwards is back, forwards is forwards. The best turning radius I've ever had other than my smart car. 33.5 feet turning circle. Let me just demonstrate that for you really quick. This isn't it all the way. Watch this. And it just spins on a freaking dime. Love it. So really tight turning circle, 3.5 turns lock to lock on the wheel, and now we're cruising around the city. So I think the most important thing that a lot of reviewers, again, I don't watch other reviewers on cars I'm going to be driving, but my guess is they're not doing a pretty good job of explaining the regen calibration, things like this, things you want to know, the nerdy EV stuff. That's why I'm here to provide the nerdy service, even though I like all cars. So, accelerator pedal in drive works as follows. You push the accelerator pedal, the car accelerates. You lift off, it coasts. You get no regen. And the reason for this is, according to Volkswagen, is they are not targeting an EV audience today. They don't want to take sales from Tesla. They don't want to take sales from Volvo, Polestar, you name it. They want sales from Mazda CX-5, RAV4, CR-V, Ford Escape, this whole SUV category. And so they want the car to be approachable, easy to understand, and not feel weird or different to someone that doesn't even, you know, think about an EV. You know, the point of this car is to take EVs from something explorative and, oh, you're driving an electric car, to just being a car. It's just a car. You don't even think about it. It's electric, sure. And you just plug it in at home. So the drive calibration is pretty nice. So when you touch the brake pedal, as long as the battery pack's warm and it can accept regen and everything, you'll get 0.25 G of regen on the rear axle before it blends in friction brakes. Friction brakes, 13.4-inch rotors up front, drums in the rear, which is pretty interesting. And the reason for this is because it has 0.25 G of regen. That's a lot of regen, by the way. I don't know how many kilowatts that turns into. It depends on speed, of course. You basically will never use the friction brakes in this car unless you really have to get on the brakes like that. But that's pretty much the only time. So for prolonged periods of unused, disc brakes just work, or sorry, drum brakes work better. Of course, discs up front for cooling. We're gonna see if that's a limitation in the canyons. So you get the good driving and drive for normal people. For me, I put it in B mode. In B mode, you get 0.13 G of regen off throttle. So now when I lift off the accelerator pedal, I get, let's just say, half of the regen is controlled with the accelerator pedal. And this is a really nice feature to cruise around town with one pedal driving like experience. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull into this parking lot because I haven't actually tested it yet. Again, I just got the car yesterday and I'm playing around with it today before the snow comes in. What I wanna see is, does it bring you all the way to a stop? It is a permanent magnet motor which has the capability to regen to a stop and hold you there. So let's do that right here. We're gonna lift off, and regen is backing off at 4 miles an hour, 3, and now it seems like it's creeping. Yes, now it's providing power. So it doesn't do one pedal to a stop. It brings you to 3 miles an hour and then applies motor torque to keep you moving at 3. So that is the target speed for creep mode, apparently. Now, the 0.13G I mentioned off accelerator pedal is great, but then when you touch the brake pedal, it will also blend extra regen up to that 0.25G, and then, just then, it will blend friction brakes. So that's how the regenerative braking system works. In terms of brake pedal feel for the blending point, it is almost imperceptible. So much better than Mustang Mach-E, significantly better than Mustang Mach-E. And Model Y doesn't do any regen braking, and that is the gold standard. I much prefer having the brake pedal be a full hydraulic system with no weird spongy braking, and just give me all the regen off the accelerator pedal, or even a little steering wheel pedal like the Bolt has, is a great functionality to increase regen, but maintain a good brake pedal feel. The Bolt doesn't maintain a good brake pedal feel because that also does blending, but that's another story. So coming up to this red light, we're gonna have to, I'm just gonna elongate our braking here for a second. On the brake pedal, definitely using friction brakes. Couldn't tell where it blended. Felt fine. Like it a lot. The brake pedal itself is quite soft in this car, and I'm not sure if that's representative of all ID.4s. It almost feels like the brake fluid's been boiled and now it's got kind of a squishy pedal. So I'm gonna try that. I don't, you know, that might just be a specific thing to this car because it's a press car and it gets driven really hard. I don't recall feeling that when I drove the car in Michigan, but we'll see. I'll definitely report on it when I get another one to test, which my dealer's getting one, and I'm gonna borrow that for a bit just to make sure everything I'm feeling is totally accurate. Other benefits of city driving. That was a lot of time just spending on braking and acceleration, but it is really important. There's different driving modes, and let's see what I'm in right now. I'm just in the comfort mode, which is kind of how you just want to drive the car. It's not, you know, it's a comfort city car. The accelerator pedal tuning is flawless, really nice. There is a kickdown switch at the bottom of the accelerator pedal for full throttle. Can't figure out what it does yet. My guess is in eco mode, you can hit the accelerator pedal to the kickdown and then it'll give you a bump more when you push it all the way. We'll try that out on the highway. Quiet, comfortable, great turning radius, really good sight line and visibility, almost no blind spots in this car, seriously. And the sizing is right. It has almost the interior cargo room of a Tiguan, but it's 4.6 inches shorter. The wheelbase is only 0.8 inches shorter, longer, I can't remember, actually, sorry. Anyway, wheelbase is really long compared to vehicle length. So what I'm trying to say is the wheels are pushed all the way to the edges, and it gives you a really nimble, like, kind of premium car driving feel. I sort of was talking to a friend last night about this, and I said, you know what? It drives like an e-tron, but it's half the price, less than half the price, depending on spec. And it just drives way better than the price point would lead you to believe, and far exceeds Mustang Mach-E, Model Y, Chevy Bolt EUV, which I've driven all three, Polestar 2 for around town comfort driving dynamics. This car is not trying to beat you up and be sporty. It's what you want to get from A to B. As you know, I own a BMW i3. We do a lot of our around town driving in that car. We take our dogs around in it, and this is kind of like the next step from the i3 because it's a, you know, no compromise, comfort oriented city maneuvering vehicle. But then this one can go really far in a charge, and it's probably going to handle better than the i3. So I'm really excited about just that. Volkswagen said This car is comfort, it is for the people, and we're not gonna beat you up driving around. All the Tesla people are gonna laugh at you on Twitter and say, oh, I can jog faster to 60 miles an hour. I just got that comment, that was funny. But you know what, it doesn't need to be fast. You just gotta get over it, because look, you put your foot down and it moves good. No one will ever need to accelerate that hard in daily driving, given an emergency situation. It's fast enough. 201 horsepower, we're Volkswagen GTI power levels. It's fast enough, okay folks? 229 pound-feet of torque instantly, no matter what. That's good. So cruising around town, flawless, seamless, so unbelievably comfortable and quiet. This is arguably like the best Uber vehicle ever. USB ports in the back, air vents in the back as well, beautiful glass roof, tons of room back there. And now let's go take it up in the canyons and see what happens when we try and turn it up a bit. My feeling is this is gonna be comfort oriented, so it's not gonna be amazing on a back road, but we'll have to find out. Let's go do it. All right, well, we're on the canyon road that I like to test cars on. I'm gonna put my seat massaging on just for extra comfort. That's right, in Pro S and above with the 12-way seats, you get a seat massager. I'm gonna show you how I've set up the car, and then we're gonna come back here and rip it around some of these awesome, awesome roads, woohoo! I just want to show you how I'm setting up custom for this Canyon Blast. We're going to put suspension in sport. So you have two options here for damper, two options for steering weighting. Normally I like to drive in comfort, but comfort's really light. So we'll try sport. If it's too overly heavy, we'll back it down. Adaptive cruise control, that seems neat. So that will really get up to speed when the car in front of you. Light assist, this is interesting. And climate control, yeah, comfort, kind of cold, want to stay warm. So that's how I have set up the sport setting. I'm sure it's very similar to just the sport, which everything's in sport and comfort. Well, there we go. All right, thanks to that person for pulling off for us, and here we go. Let's turn off the hazards and time to shred. I don't know why, like, there's no one out on the roads today, and they're all like staying home for this winter storm lockdown. As far as I can tell, it looks just like a summer wet day. Wide open throttle. We have traction control cutting in. Honestly, couldn't even feel it. I would just look down and see the light flashing, but we're just gonna shred it around. So we're in B mode for the extra regen on the D cell. We're wide open throttle. Gotta say, it's fast, folks. I don't know why everyone's so disappointed with the acceleration. I think it's properly powered, and I think the all-wheel drive version is gonna be, you know, seriously spicy, but honestly, just the rear-wheel drive version is totally fine. Wow, the balance is really nice. We have that suspension damper in a sport setting, so you can just lean on that tire and get it to corner. This is truly impressive to me, because the i3, while it is great around town, and I keep making that comparison, I think it's like the i3 10 years later, you kind of lose a little bit of that true tactile feedback. Now the steering knuckle for this car is in front of the front axle for better control, which is really neat. So look at that, right on the edge. Traction control is cutting in. Now how do I turn off stability control? That's what I need to see. Let's see, look, vehicle, exterior lights, headlights, easy open, window central locking, no, maybe assist, hit this thing. All right, let me just come to a stop real quick. Genuinely cannot find the traction control switch. I'm looking for like buttons anywhere. I don't know, and it's not in the settings. That's okay. No one's really gonna need to know what this thing's like to drift, but I do want to try to figure that out. Maybe there is no way. I was reading that the sport configuration that we're in now in this custom setting does work with ESP calibration, and it does back off some of the stability controls. So let's see, just feeding on the power. Man, it's so good calibration of ESP. Very rarely do I get a car that doesn't just lock everything down and slow you down. This just corrects the wheel spin but maintains momentum. It's really seriously quite good. The power is impressive. You know, the thing here at altitude, we're at about 6,000 feet of elevation, climbing up to about 8,500 on the top of this road. We'll see if we can make it up there without getting snow and ice, but down here at least we're just at that freezing point, but the roads are still nice and warm. The thing at elevation is combustion vehicles lose so much power that electric cars, even though, you know, the power level is 201 horsepower, well, a 200 horsepower combustion vehicle just feels slow. This feels pretty fast. Here we go. wide open throttle, and you know what? It's pleasant, it's fun, the steering is awesome. There's really actually a little bit of feel coming through here, surprisingly. I can feel what's going on with the front tires. We're covering some speed too. Look at this thing, shredding up Wrist Canyon. Try the braking here. Brake pedal is squishy, like I mentioned. I wish the brakes were a little bit sharper. So the all-wheel drive will get a, let's just say, close to 1 inch larger rotor. We have some deer over here. We're going to try to avoid those guys. And when there's one, there's more. I gotta say, this is, while it's not impressively capable at absolutely shredding, it is fun to drive. You can have a good time. I can hear the AC chiller cooling down the battery pack a little bit, which is kind of interesting. It just sits at full throttle. You cannot hear the electric motor in this car really at all. It has to be one of the quietest electric cars I've driven in terms of motor noise, mainly because there's not a front motor up here. So like front wheel drive EVs, you hear power electronics, noise, high frequency audio. In this car, it's just silence, traction control cutting in there, no sense of rear end stepping out. Personally, I'd like to see it drifting. I saw a little video of Tanner Faust drifting this thing around one of the tracks in California, and looked really actually kind of fun. You can tell the suspension is set up for street driving though, and comfort, because it's roly-poly, folks, but not in a bad way. You know, some people think they need to make their cars really stiff to handle well, and that's not the case. You know who gets this is Mazda. Mazdas are always soft, but really well controlled in terms of body motion. This kind of has the same thing, where it just flows in this left-right motion that comes through the car. The suspension absorbs really well, and the chassis is very stiff. And look, I can just nail it through these corners. We're just gonna keep it floored up the hill. I mean, it's fine. We're still gaining speed up this hill. You'd be surprised at how many cars cannot maintain acceleration up that hill here at altitude. So salt all over the roads, foggy conditions, not the best to be going super hard in, but we get a sense that even though this is a comfort-oriented car, it's not meant to be doing this. It's not uncomfortable at driving quickly either. You could take this to the tail of the Dragon, you could take it, you know, out in some of the hills around Los Angeles and Angeles Forest, and you would still have plenty of fun. I think my biggest wants, if I were going to have this, would be probably a little bit more power for sure, and better braking feel. The braking power we're not really going to test on the uphill. I would test it on the downhill, but the pedal feel is just a little squishy here for me. And like, you get into the brakes and they definitely operate. ABS, you actually feel through the pedal, which is nice. So many cars you cannot feel ABS kick in through the brake pedal, which is so disconcerting to me, because I like to know when I'm threshold braking. I want to know right when I'm on the edge of tire grip. And man, this car has to be the best compromise of all compromises for daily driving, because every car is built to be a compromise. You know, if you build a car for the track, it's not going to be that streetable. If you build a car, you know, for highway cruising, it may not be great around town, or may not be great up here. This seems to do everything so well. I'm not going to say it's the perfect car around town. It's not the perfect car up here in the canyons. It's not the perfect car on the highway. But it does everything way better than it deserves to. So we've learned it's actually really fun up here in the hills. Certainly wouldn't buy it as a canyon blaster, but you know, if you live on a mountain road, you're gonna have a good time getting home, I think is what we've learned. So let's just make a U-turn here as the roads are starting to get super slick, as you can probably hear and tell. Try out that awesome turning radius. It just makes a U-turn right on the pavement section. Pavement to pavement, between the two white lines, it just did a U-turn. That is freaking awesome. The power is great. So, you know, it doesn't seem to be thermal limiting at all. You know, I just ran wide open throttle for like 5 minutes getting up here, and the drive systems are fine, and I can hear it trying to cool things down. Yeah, that's where I feel the braking really needs a bit more pedal feel. I have to go way deep into the pedal for things to start happening and slowing down. So that, again, could just be specific to this particular car, because I don't know how it was used or driven, or if the fluid's been boiled. So I will definitely test again and report back on my next drive of ID.4, which I'm sure will happen soon. Now you can see, because it does 0.13 regen, but we're on the downhill, off throttle in B mode goes all the way to the end of the dial there. So your regen kilowatts will change, but the regen deceleration forces will always be the same. So that, I think, is actually really nice, makes for predictable driving. Man, Volkswagen has just like totally killed it with this car. Totally killed it. It is the perfect car for almost anyone. It is the car for the people. All right, I'm just coming down to the bottom of the canyons. I've been shredding it pretty hard. I didn't want to go all the way to the top just because it was getting real icy. Let's talk about brake pedal really quick. While the brake pedal is firm, I've been really making a point to get on the brakes a little bit harder for corner entry, and they're maintaining thermal longevity. It just doesn't feel that great in the pedal, but when you really start thumping on it, like I said, you get that great ABS feedback right there in the pedal, so you know exactly what's going on. Just got a really long travel, but the temperature of the brakes, they don't seem to be boiling over, they don't seem to be heating up. It seems to be a properly sized braking system for a car like this. Arguably over braked because most people will just drive it again with the regen one pedal experience. So gotta say, impressive, impressive, impressive all around. I don't know what else to say. Like, this is the car. This is the car for everyone. Onto the highway we go. Let's merge up onto the highway. I want to test some acceleration. So I'm in the normal comfort mode, and I think most people on the highway are going to use eco mode. So let's try eco mode acceleration, see if there's any limitation. So merging right, got to get up to speed, and foot to the kickdown switch. Now if I push the kickdown switch, boom, more power. That's why there's a kickdown switch. So it basically limits you at pretty good acceleration, and then pushing it all the way makes it go full power. Wow, this thing is fine with acceleration, have to say. By the way, I wanted to mention the reason I couldn't find a ESC off mode or a sport mode was because this is the rear wheel drive ID.4. I pulled out the owner's manual, an interesting book, and learned that if you have an all-wheel drive ID.4, you get a ESC sport mode. But if you have a rear wheel drive, there's no way to turn traction control down or off. I think that's a big miss in a car that should be really fun in dynamic driving situations. So Volkswagen, if you're watching this, please give us a traction control. Just give us an off mode. Just have us sign whatever thing on the screen we need to do. Let me have fun with my car, or we'll figure out a way around it like we do with every car. Anyway, that really actually does bug me. So we're cruising along, 65-mile-an-hour speed limit. Let's bring it up to, I don't know, 75, let's just say. So 75 miles an hour cruising. Have to say, this particular road is an unbelievably noisy surface, and it's quite quiet in here. This has got to be one of the most refined highway driving experiences that you can actually buy. So we're going to put the active cruise control on. We're going to hit set. So now we have it set at 73. I just swipe my finger up. This is kind of touch sensitive and haptic, so you can swipe up and down. And then I'm going to select travel assist. So now travel assist is monitoring both lanes, and it is going to steer. And the way it knows if I'm paying attention or not is obviously with the steering wheel, but unlike other cars, this is a capacitive steering wheel. So it knows if I'm touching it or not. It doesn't look for torque in the steering rack. It looks for the capacitive touch of my hands on the wheel. And I gotta say, look, it's doing a fine job through here. This might confuse it. Let's see. No, very good. Hey, that's impressive, especially at traveling at pretty big speeds through here, through all these weird lane markings. It's figuring out all of this fine. Wow, that's impressive. So you have lots of safety systems on this car. I'll walk you through some of them really quick, and I'm going to bring this up. Oh wait, I'm not going to bring this up for reference, but basically you have forward collision warning with braking. So it'll first visually warn you. It will then audibly warn you that you're about to crash. It will then pulse the brakes to say, hey, wake up, and then it will go full freak out mode, slam on the brakes, and hopefully avoid a collision if it can. If you're traveling below 18 miles an hour, it's going to skip all the warnings. It's just going to slam on the brakes, which I think is smart. So I'm interested to see what happens if I don't touch the steering wheel. I just want to see the ramp down effect. Some cars yank on the steering wheel. I just got my first warning. It says take over steering. Now it's red. Now it says take over steering. It's dinging at me. Let's just see what it does. This is a really important part of the car. No one's around, which is good. All right, now emergency assist, take over steering, exclamation point. It is slowing down. There's no one for miles. It's slowing all the way down. Oh, pulsing the brakes hard there. Hazards are on. It's beeping. It's full freak out mode. Wow, this is great. And now let's put it in park. Whoa, that is really, really good software, I have to say. The only thing that it could do better, which its Volkswagen Group siblings do, this just may not have the capability, is yank on the seatbelt. For example, in Taycan, if you're not paying attention, it's just like, but I've never had one honk the horn, and I love that it puts hazards on and it starts to go full freak out mode. That's good. None of these systems, I believe, that are this limited in capability should actually pull you off the road. I think that could be even more dangerous. This is the right approach. So I have to say, big props to Volkswagen on that ID.4 ramp down of the IQ Travel Assist, I think is what it's called. So highway cruising, man, you could eat up the miles in this thing. And you know, you can't just talk about highway cruising without efficiency and charge curves. And the answer is, I don't know what they are yet. I haven't tested them. So because the weather is so bad, I would like, well, it's not bad now, but apparently they say it's going to get bad. We're just going to go around the loop-de-loop. May as well. Let's do it. Got a nice little flat bottom wheel here, just a nudge. I'm okay with a little bit of a flat bottom wheel. Look at this thing. Grip, 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 understeer. It resorts to getting on the throttle, starts to push the back out, but then traction control shuts it down. So really good balance, almost 50-50 weight distribution here. You know, as comfortable it is on the highway, it has to have good highway efficiency, which leads to range. Tom's tested this at 230 miles. I'm going to run it through my own testing at some point. And then it needs to have good charging. And this is where, you know, Mustang Mach-E, I would say its closest competitor right now. That's a more expensive car, more sporty car. Falls short. The charging curve on that car is terrible. I just drove that car on a 2,500 mile road trip and man, was I annoyed. This car should do 125 kilowatts. Tom says he's seen more than that, well, which is good news. And he also says it just holds and holds for a long time. So I actually think this could truly be a great road tripping vehicle. We're talking 38 minutes from 5 to 80%, which is exactly how you want to be traveling and charging on the road. Mustang Mach-E, just for example, is 55 minutes in my testing from basically 5 to 80%. So this overall, while it doesn't have the peak 150 kilowatt charging that the Mustang has, your overall session average is going to be faster, and that is almost more important than the peak number. So guys, I really do truly think Volkswagen's killed it with this car. Nailed it. Every single thing is good. The travel assist on the highway is really flawless, really great. I do have to say it does some other cool things too, like if a car's in your blind spot, you start to move over, it'll push you back. There's a whole list of safety features that we could go into and try, but maybe we'll go into that when we compare this car to Model Y and Mach-E, which we're definitely going to have in an upcoming video. But I'm just so truly impressed, and I wish people would just get off their 0 to 60 mindset of Tesla ownership. I just can't understand that. Look, I own a Model 3 Performance, I've owned a Model S P100D. I get the fun of the acceleration, but people don't care. Even me, the most performance guy I know, at least, I got bored of launching my Model S everywhere, and this is like fine. This is all you need. So comfortable, great positioning on the armrests. I think I might, everyone should buy one. That's what I'm trying to say, is it does everything for everyone. And certainly I'm sure you'll comment as to why you can't buy this car for whatever reason, but in terms of price point, in terms of usability, in terms of comfort, in terms of dynamics, in terms of space, this does everything that a $60,000 car should for $20,000 less. And arguably it does things that I have, like a $72,000 Audi station wagon, same Volkswagen Group thing with the Prestige, the nice stuff, that doesn't have massaging seats. Guess what? This one does. This one's $43,000 spec with the first edition stuff. So basically from like 40 to 44, you get everything. I think you just spend the extra $4 grand and put everything on the car. Damn, I am so impressed. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.